What's up, guys? It's Gary with Fresh from the Farm Fungi. I am here in Denver, Colorado, and Irene joined us today, and she's a student of ours. She just took our mushroom cultivation class last weekend, and she came and stopped over, and I thought I'd give her a chance to kind of talk about how she got into mushrooms, and she also has a blog, so I'll let her kind of talk about that.
Yeah, so how I got into mushrooms, well, I've always been fascinated with mushrooms for as long as I can remember. At the time, I didn't focus on it too much because I was already going into a marine biology direction, and so I was close to finishing it when COVID happened, and because of COVID, I wasn't able to do as much with my degree, so I focused on other interests, and that was mushrooms. So I basically dived in, and now I'm completely submerged. There's no turning back for anything else. Right now, I'm currently living in a van, and that's kind of what the blog is about. But it's mostly about us going around the country and just getting familiar with all the random fungi there are within our surroundings. And so just doing my best to identify them using spore prints, a bunch of ID guides, iNaturalist I'll usually start with, and then go from there. And also using chemical tests. And soon I'll looking into doing more, as much as I can, trying to identify, and then eventually settling to do my own kind of like experiments with mushrooms.
Cool. So I'm not too familiar with foraging and identification. So what type of chemicals are you going to be using, and like what are their uses? Like how could you differentiate mushrooms with chemicals?
So one of the three main ones I found, it's potassium hydroxide, ammonia, and then iron sulfate. And typically you'll find a mushroom and you'll just drop a chemical on the cap, and depending on the color reaction, it'll give you a better identification on the species of the mushroom. So you can probably get the genus, and then with the chemical reaction you can get specific species.
Cool. Do you have any like spore identification like equipment, or are there ways around doing spore prints? Like what do you think about that?
Well, right now I'm kind of just doing it on a plain white sheet, and then so I'll cut the cap, put it on the white sheet, and then put a glass cup over it and let it sit. But you can also use glass, foil, really any kind of surface that the spores can hold on to or cling to, and then you can store that later.
Cool. Are there any mushrooms that you're like super excited to find, like any ones that you're on a mission for?
Not at the moment. No, just kind of taking what I can find and enjoying the adventure of it.
Cool. What's the name of your blog again?
So it's mycologies.com, basically mycology with an S at the end.
All right, so mycologies.com. Give her a shout out to Irene, and if anyone else has some tips on how to identify mushrooms, or mushrooms that are pretty common throughout the whole country, are you planning on going anywhere in particular, just driving all around, or do you have like a plan that you're gonna follow, like the seasons, or?
Sort of. Right now we're here, and then we're gonna make our way to Pennsylvania, and then from there we're gonna go to Washington. So it's kind of like a circle.
Yeah, some of the hot spots of mushrooms then.
Yeah. Right now it's kind of the off season, so I'm going over old mushrooms that I had yet to identify. So. Cool. Mm-hmm. And I not only write about it on the blog, I also post mushrooms that I identify. So if anyone wants to look and give suggestions of what they think, or any tips on what I could do to kind of do more in identifying it.
All right. Yeah, and we just finished the class this past weekend, so one of the parts of the classes was teaching how to clone mushrooms. Do you think that you're going to be starting like a mushroom library or?
Totally.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I'm totally gonna do that. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way to store it. I'm kind of limited on space with the van, and right now it's really cold, so I guess it's storing it and then seeing if I can control the temperature that I'm storing it in. So yeah, definitely, I'm gonna, when it's not off season and they can start blooming up again, I'm gonna start making some clones onto some agars and some agar plates, and then making some spore prints, storing those, making my own library on it.
Very cool. All right. Well, you'll have to let me know when you got a pretty good collection, and maybe we could trade.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. And like I said, if anyone wants to check out Irene's blog, it's Mycologies with an S. All right, guys. Until next time, much love.